let's do another segment of our wonderful TriMet board meeting. I rewatched the last meet. I always rewatch these to see what I missed. I know I'm crazy. I actually watched the board meetings twice. I watched once, like I'm watching now, and then I watched it again to see what I missed. And what I missed in the last meeting is that they were the head of that Andrew guy, the head of the security, the guy that took supporter's job, was asked for a list of all these great accomplishments of the safety and security team or the feel good team, whichever. I don't even know. There's six different things they got now, all of them subcon. He was asked for, well, we want to hear about all these great deals, that all these great things they've done, and he rambled and rambled. He never answered it, but what he did say is, well, there's so many great things that they've done, but I don't have any off the top of my head. I'll get back to you in September, he said. Now, I'm very familiar with how TriMet internal documentation works. When there's something happens, they have this thing called an after action report, where the supervisor will write up the incident. And we used to have the whole library of those. I still have them somewhere, but they're ancient and nobody cares about them anymore. But these teams must be writing up their daily adventures. They must be. They're not. They can't possibly be running around without keeping some kind of documentation. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I find it hard to believe if that's what they're doing. So they didn't actually have any stories to tell about, but the guy went on and on about how great everything is over there. So that stood out to me. That was one thing. Now, furthermore, I didn't think anybody was paying attention to me because I'm not a liked figure and I have no real following and people aren't really paying attention to me. But I did end up getting a strike on YouTube because I had posted some of those internal meetings, but I've now filed a public request for those meetings. Okay, it was called EXMP focus trainings. So I filed a public request for them so that I can get them officially. Anyway, I got a strike, but have no fear. I'm already aware that Google and government work exactly hand in hand to suppress dissidents. And even though I have no actual following, I'm still a dissident. And somebody at TriMet actually went to the trouble to have those videos removed, and I got a strike out of it, which means somebody is paying attention to me. Okay, somebody over there, who knows who it is, could be anybody, thinks I'm dangerous enough that I have to be monitored and stuff that I'm posting has to be removed. Now, that is why I got off of this blog, because this is Google. Okay, this is why I got off of this blog and went over to this blog, WordPress. This is my new, because Google had been striking me. Let me see. I'll show you. Let's see. If I go to the dashboard, let's see what happens. See it right there. See it? Can you see it? See, they're now censoring my blog. So I know that somebody is trying to shut me up, which means I'm more effective than I thought I was. Let me put you that way. When they go out of their way to do that, that means somebody in authority is not happy, and that means I'm having some kind of effect. So whenever these things happen, I know that whatever I'm doing is working. Now, also, I want to point out that every one of my videos is backed up on my Odyssey page, Portland's Transport Odyssey page, because I know that YouTube could just throw me off anytime they want. Twitter can throw me off. I don't care about Facebook anymore. I wish they would throw me off. I keep that account. I don't use it. I try to stay away from it. But there's people that communicate with me on Messenger, and that's the only way I communicate with them. So I keep the Facebook. Twitter's not even Twitter anymore. It's X now. This freaking lunatic Musk. I guess he wants to destroy it. I guess that's the point. So I know that all of my material could be vanished in a second, and I'm okay with that because I actually had a big YouTube channel before this, and they had TriMet had the entire channel wiped, not just a strike, but the entire channel disappeared. And that was way back. Believe it or not, there was a time when me and Jason McHuff, who've been a team throughout all of this, and we're still a team. This has been going on for years. I knew Jason from when he was just a kid, basically, but he was a computer nerd. And so what I would do is I gave him he'd come over to my place and I let him go into the TriNet and find out whatever he could. Anyway, he found all this great stuff before they had any protection over there. We were actually ahead of TriMet. It's a very dawn of technology. And I had it all posted on this YouTube site, and TriMet took down the whole site. And it was too bad, but it's okay because I don't go back and rewatch any of this stuff myself, and it might be of some interest to historians somewhere in the future. But basically, I know nobody cares about any of it, and it's got historical value for somebody who might be looking into the TriMet history of a dissident, okay, instead of the TriMet official history. The TriMet stuff. I have a great collection of stuff, but it could disappear, and I know that. I'm aware of these things. I'm aware they could take my channel down. I'm aware they could kick me off. I'm aware, and it doesn't really matter to me because there'll always be new material. Always. There's never going to be a time at this TriMet that will be boring for me. And so if they take it all down, I'll just find another way to present it. Uh, so anyway, that's what I got to say about that. And so let's continue the board meeting. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to point out all the videos are here, including the ones that are banned over there. And I also have hard copies of that. So I have the original files. So I can always put them up on a private server later. You can't really they might be able to do something on the YouTube, but I got that stuff legitimately from unknown sources, and they are upset about it apparently. And I don't know why. I don't even think either of those videos had 100 views. They had like 60 or 70 views. So I mean, nobody was really watching them, but it was bad enough that TriMet thought they needed to take action to get rid of them. So I just officially asked for the records using their system. I just asked for the whole thing. I want all of them. Give me the whole batch of all the videos that are those videos. I'm asking. Now they'll probably say exempt because they know I'm not going to do anything about it. But that just shows again who they are, a super secret agency that doesn't want anything to be exposed and goes out of their way to make sure nobody knows the truth about anything. And so that's nobody really understands that. Just a few people. They're not a benevolent organization, folks. They're a parasitical organization, just like every other government entity. They steal the money from the taxpayers and then they distribute it to who they feel is entitled to it. It's not for the benefit of the riders. We could see what happened to the transit system. But yet, all this money, and we're watching it right now, is being doled out for all this stuff that does nothing to help riders. They try to pretend it does. Everything is couched in the language of how we're helping you. And it's just your typical government crap. It's like Biden saying Putin's gas shortage or something. Now, a certain amount of people are going to believe that. People believe authority. And so they don't question authority. That's the nature of our society. It's like everybody just does what they're told. And we're in a new history of the world. And I'm just glad I'm old because I don't want to be out in this shithole. I kind of hide away in my place here. I have no desire to see the world. I had lots of before all the COVID scamdemic. I wanted to go out and travel the world and stuff. Could do any. I can do anything I want right now, basically. But I choose to stay here and maintain my own space. And watch. You can watch everything right from here. I watch all the videos from around the world from all the fucking countries that are like 1,000 times worse than ours. And when you really start looking at the truth, it's not pretty. Anyway, let's go.
I'm going to try to get this one in the right order now.
Yeah, there you go.
The next resolution to come before the board this morning is Resolution 23-07-35, determining that the terms of the Hollywood Transit Center Joint Development Agreement are reasonable and fair, and that the revenue therefrom will be used for public transportation.
All right. Here it is. Let's see what it is. Let's check it out, folks. Resolution Language Development Agreement with Bridge Housing. That guy talked in this meeting. Are reasonable and fair to TriMet, and the revenue derived therefrom. What are you talking about? What revenue? Let's see. To comply with FTA regulations, the board must determine that the terms of the joint development are reasonable and fair to TriMet. And any revenue derived. What revenue do they expect to derive from this? I mean, it's an apartment building. Is it privately owned? Do they make a profit? We don't even know. I mean, TriMet's Hollywood Transit Center opened in 1986 as part of TriMet's first light rail line. So 86, 96, 2006, 2016. So, and it's 2020. So that's been open for 37 years, and now they're going to close it. Currently, the approximately 50,000 square feet site is used as a bus stop and transfer station. It has convenient access to the blue, green, and red lines. But the property is otherwise undeveloped. Oh my God. So, wow. Couldn't just put a park in there or something. You have to do this, right? The present condition of the site is shown on attached Exhibit A. Okay, Exhibit A. Let me see what it is. Here is Exhibit A. 1, 1986 light rail substation due for upgrade. That's here. 2, existing bus layout. I'm sure the bus drivers are going to be glad they don't have to go in here. I hated that. These stations here where you pull the bus into, you have to make exact turns. They give you like no room. These are not exactly easy spaces for buses to come into. 3, existing stair ramp due for upgrade. Where's 3? Okay. 4, Peabot paper street used primarily focused for bus. 4? What? What 4? What is this? Peabot paper street used. I don't even know what that means. 5, betterment opportunity for safety improvements of adjacent roadway. Yeah, right. Where's 5? So this is Halsey over here. I guess this is Halsey, right? That Halsey? That's Halsey out there. So what's this behind here? Oh, that's the light rail station, I guess. 6, existing easement to Target for driveway access. What? There's a Target there? I didn't even know that. 7, ODOT pedestrian bridge to max platform. And, well, I don't have any idea. Okay, see, this was the previous design. See, that's why all right, see, this is, Rippy, this is the new design, Rippy, okay? You can't post that other picture anymore. They're making it like this. There's going to be 2 wings and a middle. All right. Now we know what you're talking about.
Mr. General Manager, your comments.
So, President Gonzalez, members of the board, the purpose of this resolution is to bring TriMet in compliance with the Federal Transit Administration regulations around the Hollywood Transit Center hub. TriMet and Bridge Housing have reached an agreement in principle to grant a 99-year lease for Bridge to build and operate a 12-story affordable housing development.
99-year lease.
This is in coordination with TriMet's adjacent project.
And remember, I view these projects as crony capitalism. You know, they pretend they're affordable. They say that. They got to say that. First of all, it's not going to do anything to help the homeless crisis. And affordable that doesn't really mean anything because they change the terms of these things later. They tell you one thing now, and then later there's going to be something else. We see it 100,000 times. This, from my point of view, this is the crony capitalism. This is a new world order. This is the Agenda 21, which is now Agenda 30. Pack the people into the trains and then stack them into these apartments. I mean, it looks terrible. I mean, but whatever.
To rebuild and replace the infrastructure at our Hollywood Transit Center. The FTA requires the board to determine the terms and conditions of the joint development agreement with Bridge are fair and reasonable.
They require the sock puppet board to sock puppet it. That's what, you know, yeah. The board who are just sock puppets. Prove everything put in front of them. Never deny anything from the general manager. Always reward the general manager. Give them as much money as they can steal out of the budget. So it's just sock puppet approvals.
Reasonable to TriMet. Also, that the revenue that results from the agreement will be used for public transportation. So in December of
What revenue are they going to get from this? I don't even understand where that comes from.
2021, the board approved the resolution declaring that the terms and conditions of the agreement in place at that time met FTA requirements. But as the project moved forward and additional public outreach was completed, it became clear that a larger building was an improved design and would better integrate with the neighborhood. So TriMet and Bridge engaged with Senator Ron Wyden's office and secured a federal review assistance from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to move the project forward with maximum financial benefit. The new, larger design and concept was well received by Portland Development Commission. However, as the terms of the original board-approved joint development agreement have changed, we come back before you today to once again ask for your approval. The proposed 99-year lease between TriMet and Bridge includes a number of provisions, which are all bulleted in your packet. So TriMet must obtain FTA's concurrence with the revised joint development agreement before the lease can be executed. So staff has conducted an extensive investigation into the terms of the proposed loan agreement and concluded that the conditions proposed are fair and reasonable. The TriMet budget infrastructure work on site is included in our approved FY24 engineering, construction, and planning budget. Bridge has committed to use certified firms for 50% of the project's design work and about 30.
All right, I missed this. Okay, 99 year, 1.5 million upfront ground lease from Bridge. Okay, so Bridge is paying TriMet 1.5 million. 150,000 joint contributions by TriMet and Bridge for the cost of the giant TriMet failure called Jeremy Christian, when their lack of security caused the deaths of people. And it was only because of citizens that he was found, by the way, in case you forgot. TriMet's completion of a separate infrastructure project to replace the substation. Yeah, public paseo, what the hell is that? City of Portland's vacation of 46, transferring ownership of 15,000 feet to TriMet. Bridge 12 stories. We don't know. It says 100% affordable housing, but we don't actually know what that means, and we won't. Doesn't really mean anything, but it's going to be 12 stories. 12 stories high. Jesus. 224 units. Okay. Bridges construction of interior building spaces, including TriMet staff facilities, public storage, and retail space. So that, wait a minute, retail space that will be leased back to TriMet for $1. So what? TriMet can, okay, so maybe they can make money on that, I guess. Bridges, construction of the project elements that support and improve functioning of the site, include building integrated bus shelter. What's paseo mean? What is that? I'm gonna look that up. Paseo. Spanish speaking parts of the southwestern U.S. What? Oh, a slow, idle, or leisurely walk. I don't get that, but whatever. Okay, let's see. Okay, TriMet's investigation yielded a broker's opinion of the value of site appraisals of the property, fair market value, calculation of the value to TriMet and TriMet staff facilities, analysis of financial report, blah, blah, blah. All right. All very lovely.
5% of the construction. So with that, I recommend your approval.
Let's see. Let's see if we get any decent questions here. That Frisbee and that what's that guy's name? The other guy, the new one. Guy that looks like Curly Howard. They've been asking some good questions.
Thank you, General Manager Dessou. I'm not falling for that right now. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
He's funny. He cracks me up. He's funny. I do kind of like his whole shtick.
So moved.
I heard Director Frisbee first. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Director Edwards, thank you very much. Now I'd like to open it up. Does anyone wish to make a comment before we vote? Director Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question regarding the memorial that's going to be built toward the May 2017 tragedy that was there. Are the families going to be contacted and have some input into that? And what is that going to look like? Do we have any idea what that's going to look like going forward?
So I'm going to toss over to the people that's coordinating it, but yes to your question. So go ahead and move forward.
So thank you, Director Edwards. We are working
him again.
with, so there's
It's the Australian. Yeah, they do like their diversity over there, and they're diverse, that place, that's for sure. I'm not sure it's doing anybody any good, but they've met their diversity quota.
various levels. There is, as you're probably aware, there is also a lawsuit that is ongoing between
There
the
is?
families, or some of the families and TriMet.
Oh.
So working through our legal team, we are in discussion.
Oh, did you hear that? They haven't settled that yet. Why aren't you settling it? Why isn't that done? See how TriMet even fights that. That was clearly the responsibility of the transit system to fail to protect its riders. This is before the scamdemic, don't forget. Before all the police left Portland and all of that, and there was all these labor shortages. That all happened while everything was running supposedly fine. So there's so they haven't settled that. 6 years have gone by, and you haven't settled those lawsuits. So there you go. That's your government for you. They will fight you. They will fight we the people on everything we ask for.
In direct contact with the families and their attorneys, and they're aware of the process. Within the project team as well, we have the original artist, Sarah Farahat, as an advisor to the project team. So it is yes, the answer is yes, we are working with the families.
Thank you.
Director Kellogg?
Thank you. Just another cents out of dollars. This is more a comment than a question. So currently, the land is just a parking lot, right? It's where buses turn around, drop people off, pick people up, right? Okay. And so with this development, 224 affordable housing units. We're going to make an incredible intangible benefit going forward. As far as the tangible benefit, there is a one-time lease payment of $1.5 million down at the beginning of construction or at the end of construction, occupancy, somewhere in there, right?
Correct.
Right. So you'd say, $1.5 million over 99 years, that sure ain't much money. But I want to direct the
I like that guy. I like this guy. He is a precise 1.5 million over 99 years. Let's see what that actually is. He catches this stuff. These new board members are quite interesting. Where's my calculator? Come on, where are you? Here you are. All right, calculator. Clear 19 million divided by 99. $19,000 a year.
public to an exhibit that was included as part of the resolution that indicates, and this has been testified to a little bit this morning, about the benefits from the public space that TriMet's going to have available for staff. I think there's bike storage, and I think there's also going to be some retail space that presumably TriMet is going to receive the rental revenue from. So based on that Exhibit F, I see the total revenue projected is about $23.5 million. Can you confirm that? And that's net present value, obviously.
Yeah, and that includes the ridership, the increased ridership, increased fare revenue that we expect over a 30-year period.
Oh, you see the increased fare revenue. So so this is not got, so it's got nothing to do. Oh, so they're trying to pretend that this is going to increase. They're going to get that money from squeezing the riders. Okay, it's not coming from the property. What a bunch of phonies.
Period. So correct, yeah. One of the reasons we need approval for this resolution is because it's a joint development in FTA terms, which doesn't require selling the property for fair market value. So you can take into account other benefits you get, other financial benefits, which is exactly what we've done here. Yeah, so we think there are substantial benefits in excess of that
Of
one.
course, you're going to say that. You know, they're going to always say what we're doing is great, and we know what we're doing, and we're the best in the world, and everybody loves us, and they come here to look. That's what they're always going to say. That's why these board meetings have no actual use to watch them, because there's no critic. And I'm the only one that looks at them as a critic.
$1.5 million lease payment.
Okay, and just clarity on our role as a board about this fair share of revenue. Is the revenue that is directed to, is that just the lease payment, the 1.5 million, or is it the overall?
It's the overall financial deal, essentially.
Okay, and so when it says it needs to be directed to public transportation, is that all of the operations of TriMet, or is that just for, bus tires, or
Yeah,
is there
public
any restriction on
transportation
that?
in these terms has a broader definition.
Okay.
So
Yeah, public transportation in his terms mean we, the executive class, will do what we want with it, and we'll give it to the people we like. That's what he just said. You heard him.
by the agency toward public transportation, which is essentially the agency's purpose.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's the purpose. They don't even spend a quarter of their budget on the so-called purpose. 452 million to fund the transit system. Budget is 2 billion. 25% of the budget goes to supporting the transit system.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
A follow-up to that, just to be clear then, that means things like state of good repair would fall into that potential allocation of funds?
So just for an example on that $1.5 million payment, often when we sell property with FTA interest in it, it goes into what we call a restricted account, and it has to be used for a purpose that's authorized by FTA. In this case, FTA is saying you just need to use it for transit purposes, transportation purposes. So any purpose, it'll go into the general fund to be used for transportation purposes.
Yeah,
you.
which means they can do anything they want with it. That's what he's saying here. Which, of course, yeah, of course.
Any further questions, comments? Director Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think when I look at these bullet points, I don't see the ones that we talked about earlier regarding some enhancements or educational opportunities for the residents that are going to be there. And I would think that that's where they would be.
Yeah, those are in the lease agreement. Bridge has a pretty robust program for tenant support and Kurt Krieger mentioned that earlier, related to the hacienda role with Bridge. Once the building's built, there will be a requirement in the lease for them to provide those sort of tenant services. They provide those regardless, but we will have terms in the lease requiring those tenant services.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you. One more clarification. The 99-year lease, knowing these are affordable units, is it fair for the public to anticipate then that it's during that 99-year lease period that the affordability criteria will be applied to the units?
Guy, I'll turn this one over to you. I know there's a Portland Housing Bureau requirements. I'm not sure of the exact length of that.
The answer is yes. So because this is a Portland Housing Bureau funded project by Bridge, actually within the legal structure of that funding agreement is that the requirement for affordability feeds through to the land effectively. So TriMet is committing to keeping these units affordable for 99 years as a result of this entering into this transaction and because it's being funded through PHP.
Thank you. And I did not see this in this iteration of the agreement. I might have missed it, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I have noticed that there's a growing awareness of the missing middle of income, and the fact that we have opportunities now to ensure that some of the folks that will be joining TriMet, that are going to become part of our operations, may be able to become potential applicants for some of these units. So I encourage us, as we look at TOD, to ensure that we have pathways for some of the folks that we're trying to bring into our workforce to be able to actually become applicants and be considered for the units that are part of this TOD equation we're becoming a part of. It makes a lot of sense. I don't know how that bumps into fair housing, but I want to make sure that we are looking at the opportunities to make that match.
Yeah, thanks for that. And we have talked to Bridge about that. They do a pretty extensive potential tenant outreach program at the time the building is gearing up for occupancy. And we can certainly make people at TriMet aware that the building is coming online.
Thank you. All right, I see no other hands raised, so I'd like to ask that we move to a vote. All of those in favor of approving Resolution 23-07-35, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Very good.
Oh boy, are you surprised about that, Ozzy? You surprised that the motion carried anonymously? Oh, Ozzy. All right, that's enough of this. And let's see what we got left here. We're at hour and 50, and we're almost done. We're almost done. Maybe one more segment. Over and out.